Hello everybody, time for another review. This one is kind of a follow-up to my latest review, which was of the book Figone, Figopedia by Jeremie Bonamant Teboul. This time I'm talking about DVD set called Miniature Painting with Jeremie Bonamant Teboul. It's available from his website, Figone. I'll link it below. It's, as it says here, 2 DVDs. They're DVD 9s. The total running time is close to 7 hours. It costs €25. And this is what it looks like inside. And this is the back cover. This is his first DVD set. He has another second follow-up that I'll be talking about in a few days. But this is, as I said, his introduction to miniature painting, and as such, it contains a lot of stuff. It does cover all the basics. It's perhaps not, again, perhaps this is not the most beginner friendly, mostly because of the language issues, which I will talk about a bit later. But also because when he gets into the intermediate and more advanced techniques, it's, well, it could be perhaps a bit difficult to understand if you're an absolute beginner. But if you have any experience at all with painting, you can get something out of this. And I should say up front, this is a very good set. I have some qualifications about it. I'm not as enthusiastic about this as I am about his book, but we'll get to that. The first DVD contains a forward introduction and some what he calls pre-painting, which means preparation of the miniature, a bunch of different techniques, a discussion of lights, and the start of a discussion about colors. The second DVD finishes the discussion of colors, and it goes into more detail about painting faces and specific types of material, metallics, gems, leather, blood, stains, and then it goes on to basing. The thing to say technically about this is that the English soundtrack is, as far as I can understand, Jeremie himself speaking. And his English pronunciation is not always perfect. There are some words that I find a bit difficult to understand. It's usually clear from the context what he means. You might have to listen to some sections a few times to figure it out. But, you know, you can get there. The only real issue with it is at one point in DVD 2, in the section on painting blood, the audio is out of sync. Well, rather, the blood section has 2 chapters that are equally long, and the audio playing over the first chapter is exactly the same as that for the second. There was apparently a mix-up in editing the DVD, so the wrong clip is being played. But you can tell you can see from the images what he's doing. It's not difficult. What he's doing is simply what's more or less a standard technique now of mixing Tamiya clear red with some black to produce a blood-like effect. Well, I guess language-wise you can say some of the titles in the menus are a bit confusing. He has a technique called pre-shading in the menu, which isn't actually pre-shading as anyone else means it. It's base coating. So he simply means the painting you do before shading. But again, you can figure that out. So the technical things are minor. Let's go on to the contents. As I said, the first DVD contains a bunch of techniques. Interestingly, apart from the normal ones, so to speak, He talks a good deal about wet painting and wet blending, or what he calls dot blending, which to me looks like stippling, and a few other interesting ideas. He has the interesting idea of pushing and pulling paint. He has a discussion of how to manipulate, not just, he doesn't just lay paint on with a stroke and leave it there always. He can manipulate the paint after you put it on the model, and that's sort of interesting. That's something I've done a little bit about intuitively at times without anybody actually telling me to, but listening to Jeremie talk about it, I get more of an idea that, yeah, this could actually be a thing. This could be an actual technique. This could be something you could practice and learn and use to your advantage. So that was interesting. He the sections on light and color, you might think, well, this sounds like the book. Yeah, it's a few of the things he takes up in the book, but in a simpler fashion. For example, the only lighting scheme the DVD goes into is zenithal, none of the others. And again, the discussion of color is much more limited than in the book. But on the other hand, this is a good complement because you get more examples, more specific examples in other models. The section about faces is very long and very specific and detailed. The only thing you could quibble with is that his technique for painting eyes is shown on a 54mm figure, and one with exceptionally large eyes at that, a halfling miniature. So all that detail is perhaps not applicable to the 28mm figure. When he talks about metals, he means both NMM and what he calls TMP, true metallic paints, and he has examples for both, of both a sword and armor, and also goes into rust, how to paint that. And it's interesting that his NMM technique is connected to his theory of light. He doesn't, he somewhat dismissively to my mind, gives the boots to painters who always paint the reflections in the same places on, for example, a sword. He says, no, you can't do that. You have to actually look at the model and look at where light would be coming, and put down your reflections following that. And that's a good point, I think. The basing section is not your usual basing. It's about scenic basis, and he always bases on, well, most of his models are display models. He bases them on wooden plinths, and he shows half a dozen different types of bases he does. And if you're doing more normal, like small 25mm plastic bases, you can perhaps not do things as elaborately, but you can still pick up a few ideas. Finally, there's a gallery, and this is unusually good for a gallery because it's not just a series of pictures, but he also has a voiceover where he explains how he composed these models and talks about details in them. So, do I recommend this DVD? Yes, it's very good. It's one of the better ones out there. If I compare it to something, for example, if we take the other DVD, the one from Dark Sword with Jen Haley and Ann Forster that I reviewed a few weeks ago, which was for a similar level of painter, the intermediate level of painter, I would say. This is about of equal quality. I like that one a lot, and I like this one a lot. And they do things differently, and this is important. This is a point Jeremie makes at the very introduction of his DVD, is that there are no laws or set rules in miniature painting. You gotta do you got to follow your own style. And looking at these DVDs and other painters at most gives you inspiration, gives you ideas. Then you have to sort of integrate that into your own style. There's no one true way. And I've taken that to heart, and that's why I buy all these DVDs, to see as many different styles of painting as possible, to get as much inspiration as possible. And if you're like me, then you should definitely think about adding this DVD set to your collection. So that'll be all for today. As promised, I'm currently watching through his Volume 2, and I'll be putting up a review of that soon. But until then, or whatever video comes before that, I will see you then, and I am currently signing off.